Exercise for SolidWorks 2016. In this exercise, if you grab the manual off of the Vertanu1.com and go to instructional manuals and find the SolidWorks basics, there you'll find the 2016 manual. And this is our goal today, to create this hand wheel that you see. And so we're going to step through how to create that. Some of the things that we're going to learn are some new sketching techniques, as well as sweeps and circular patterns. Start with the new part file. Make sure you're in IPS for inch pound second, just down below here. Just make sure that's set to that. And let's go to the front plane and start a sketch. The first thing we want to construct is actually this block, which is 3 inches by 1 inch. So we could take the corner rectangle tool, glide up to the origin when it snaps orange, click, drag it out, click again, and go ahead and add smart dimensions. 3 inches on this side, and on the base, set it to 1 inch. And go to the centerline tool and just draw a vertical center line above that. Okay. Now, what we're going to take a look at next is we're going to take a look at the sketch chamfer tool. If you click on sketch chamfer, in this case, we'll keep it at distance to distance and set it to 0.125. And just click on this upper left corner, and you'll see, I'm going to hit the green check mark, and you'll see these dimensions up here. Now you'll see a little red chain link, and that means the two are linked. If you change one, the other one updates. Notice it's 0.13 because it rounded it. So if you go to IPS, edit document units, you can set the length in units here to 0.123 to heighten the precision. The next thing we need to do is add a radius onto here. So we're going to click on the little arrow to the right of the radius options and go with 3-point arc. Move your pointer up to the edge on the left side of your rectangle and get below the midpoint, about approximately where my pointer is currently. Click one time and release it. Move your pointer up again past the midpoint, so maybe around 1 inch for the length. Click, and then move your pointer outward. Now be very careful, keep the center point. If you look there, there's a little blue center point right underneath the radius 0.623. Keep that to the right of the line. You don't want to hyper expand this, or else it doesn't collapse back in, so keep it below that. Maybe make the radius around 0.6-ish. Click, and now let's go to Smart Dimension and add a dimension to that. And the dimension for that is a 1/2 inch. Now we need to also add some dimensions to locate the center of it. So in this case, it's going to be 1.75 off the base, and it's actually the center point is actually positioned 0.25. Well, in this case, actually, we have a 2.5 diameter. So let's first position it off the base. Click on the arc, click on the bottom line, drag this out 1.75, and now go ahead and click on the arc, and then click on the center line that's peeking out. If you don't click on the center line, and if you click on the object line below it, you won't get this next option. Click, drag it to the right, and you'll see it will give you the diameter dimension, which we saw in exercise 2. Go ahead and click on that and just hit the green check mark, because what it's doing, notice it's dimensioning to the center. So whatever the dimension is, it's not what we want. So instead, go to leaders, and you'll see arc condition, first arc condition, and we want maximum. And it takes it all the way around if we were to look at the maximum extent of that arc on both sides. Now there's another way. Usually you could click on these points and drag them out. That sometimes works, but this way is the best way I found. If you don't get the arc condition or first arc condition options here on the leaders tab, be where you probably dimension to the center point of the arc versus the actual arc itself. Just delete the dimension if that occurs. Retry dimensioning from the arc to the center line. Okay, and now I could actually just double click on the dimension and type in 2.5. And also, if you want, you can actually double click a couple times on it. And if you go to the, oops, hit the green check there, while this is still active here, you'll see there's some dimension options, one of which is a small library of options, like in this case, the diameter symbol, and it puts a diameter symbol in it for us. So that's helpful, not essential, but it's helpful for making the drawing later on. We don't have to put it in later on, in other words. Okay, let's reposition these. And now we just need to trim this out. So make sure you go to the trim entities right here. Click on it. Notice if you hit the little arrow, there's trim and there's extend. Believe it or not, the trim entities does both. In this case, we're going to use the trim to closest. And just get your pointer on that line in between the arc. Click and it will remove it. Hit the green check mark. And now you're free to revolve this. So let's go to Features, Revolve Boss Base, and it should pick up on the center line without us having to select it. As long as there's one center line, it just grabs it automatically. And let it go 360 degrees around. Okay, now we could go ahead and select the front plane again and start a sketch, because what we're going to do next, if you hit your space bar and go to front, and then zoom out with your scroll a little bit, and if you want, you could also hold Control and your middle mouse button to pan to the right. We're going to construct one of the spokes. So we're going to make, you might say, the skeleton of the spoke using curve. So we'll go to the line and align yourself. Actually, go to center line first. And click on that origin at the base because it's the center of the model. Make sure you draw a vertical center line. Hit Escape. Now take the line tool and find somewhere on this edge, but not the midpoint necessarily. Click and drag out a 2-inch line and then hit Escape. Go ahead and smart dimension that line. Just drop it up here 2 inches. And then go ahead and select the line and dimension it to the bottom edge of the hub. And dimension that at 1.75. And that should center it for us on that radial area. Okay, now let's go to the, we're going to go to the arc tools. In this case, find tangent arc. Click on this point, drag it to the left and up. A should be less than 90 degrees, so 70 or 80 degrees is good. And the radius about a 1/2 inch is fine. And click. And now you'll see you could drag off an additional tangent arc, and if you can, infer to it and actually get this center directly above, or below I should say, the end of the arc. That's great. If not, don't worry about it. Click and then hit Escape. Now go to the line tool and draw a line from this end, just extend it out. Now what we need is a tangent relationship between here. So as you look, I'm going to hold Control and select all these just to show you. You need to see tangency, tangency, tangency. That's what those little symbols indicate. If you don't see tangency here, then hit Escape a couple times and hold Control and select both the line and the arc that you want to make tangent. And then on the left you should see tangent. If you don't see tangent, hit Escape a couple times and try it again. And so from here we can now go to Smart Dimension, dimension the arc, and that's going to be 1 inch. Dimension this arc, and that will be 1 inch. Or you could do something else. Before I hit Enter, I'm going to hit Escape. Actually, I'm going to click on that dimension. I'm going to hit Delete. Oops. One time and hit Delete. Oops. Let me just select it. Hit Delete. Okay. Rather than actually having two dimensions that are the same, on a print you would probably show it 2 places, 1 inch radius. So this is what you could do. If you hit Escape a couple times, you could Control select both of these arcs, and on the left you should get equal. If you don't, again hit Escape and try selecting those holding Control. Okay, now they're both the same. So what you might want to do here, if you just click on this, go ahead and right click on it, and then over here on the left go to the dimension text, and after the greater than symbol that you see there, go ahead and hit a space, and we're going to go ahead and put 2 PLCS, or whatever your format you're using, X2, or put it in front of the radius, whatever you want to do. Okay, now we could go ahead and add a few more dimensions here. Let's dimension from this line to this line. Drag this to the right, and that is going to be, let's take a look at the print, 1 inch. Okay, and finally, select this point to this line, just get it up here, and that's going to be 5 inches. And now hit the rebuild button. And the rebuild button regenerates the model. Any changes will update that might have occurred, and also it exits you out of the sketch. So you got to be careful in some cases. You don't always want to rebuild while you're in a sketch if you're editing it. But if you do hit rebuild, notice it turns gray. You could always double click on it to bring it back, or you could right click on it and you'll find edit sketch. Different ways of getting back in, but I'm just going to double click on it because I think I actually put in the wrong dimension here. So let me go back to the drawing. I did. It was supposed to be 4 inches. So I'm going to double click on the dimension, type in 4, and hit enter. And now I could hit rebuild again. All right. Now we're going to build the profile at the end here. We want to create a plane. There's several ways you could do this, but this is just one way. Go ahead, and the trick is you select the endpoint where the plane is going to rest. Now hold Control down and click on the line that's attached to that endpoint. Click. And I'm holding Control. So you have to select the endpoint and the line it's attached to. When you go to Reference Geometry and Plane, you will see it will automatically create a plane perpendicular to that point, and that line, I should say. So that's one of many ways to create a plane. Go ahead and hit the green check mark. These are not really boundaries, it's just a visual aid, so you can enlarge that if you want, or make it smaller. Okay, now go ahead and select that edge of that plane and click on Sketch. And hit your space bar, and here's where you could go normal too. All right, if it's rotated incorrectly, remember the Alt keys. You could rotate with the arrow keys, Alt and arrow keys, left or right will go clockwise or counterclockwise. All right, just make sure it's vertical as you see here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the center point arc tool. This is the toughest of all the arc tools that you have there, of the 3 I should say. Move your pointer right here, get on the origin, click, and drag out a radius about 1/2 inch. So not quite 1/2 inch actually. Keep it below 1/2 inch. And notice I'm horizontal. Click, drag up, and if you get an opening instead of an arc, a small little arc, go back down around and then go back up again. I'm just moving, I'm not clicking on anything. Now rotate it around till it snaps horizontal to the other side. Click, and now take the line tool, and off of this point drag down a short little line about 1/2 inch. Click, drag it across until it infers. Click, and connect it to close the line. Now let's go to Smart Dimension, and let's put the dimensions in according to the drawing. So in this case, 0.75, 0.5. So this, click down here and drop it below 0.5. Now here's what you see occurring. Even though I drew that, it did not capture tangency automatically, and that happens sometimes. Sometimes you get lucky and you could get it depending upon how you're drawing and what you're drawing. In this case, it was not successful. So I'm going to leave the dimension there. Don't panic about it. Just hit Escape if this happens to you. Hit Escape on your keyboard. Now hold Control and select the line and the arc that you want to make a tangent to. Release Control, and you could go ahead and click on Tangent. And now notice how it snaps back. Okay, the next dimension is 0.75 from top to bottom. Click on the bottom line and click on the actual arc, not the center point of the arc. If you do that, you will limit yourself to this dimension right here. Just don't put it in dimension just yet. Just hit the green check mark. And what we can do now is you could grab that little blue square and drag it up. Now in this case it's snapped, and this is what I mean by sometimes it's a little quirky. This is where you use the leaders tool and go to max. Yours might work. Sometimes I've seen where it works, other times it doesn't, depending upon what's behind it most likely. And in this case, now this needs to be 0.75. Okay, hit escape. One other thing that I didn't capture apparently because the center line was behind there was I didn't lock it in. Notice how it's blue. Now if yours is completely black, that's an indication it's fully defined. That's good. If any of the geometry is still blue like this, grab the arc after you hit escape a couple times and drag it up or down. Or grab the center point maybe and drag it up and down. And what you might want to do is get it to snap to that center. And I'm having a tough time, so I'm just going to drag it way up here, release it. It's still selected. Hold Control and select the origin. In this case, I'm having a hard time because of that center line. So I better hide that center line. Right click, and we want to find the hide. Actually, I'll have to hit escape. Let's see if we could do this here. Okay. Click on hide, the little eyeball there. All right, now we should be able to drag this down, and maybe not. I'm going to hold Control. Let's see what we got going here. Okay, apparently we're having a little bit of a rough time on that one. Let's go normal 2. Next time I'm just going to hide that sketch behind it so I don't run into this issue. Okay, so actually I'm going to go back and unhide that. So I'm going to show it. And let's see if we could get it at an angle here. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to hold Control and select this. Go with coincident, and now it locks in. Go ahead and hit the green check mark. So I think part of the issue is if the center line might be there, but just go to like an isometric view and you could lock those points in to that sketch. All right, now that we have that completed, hit the rebuild button, and let's hide this plane. Just get on the edge of the plane, right click, and click on the little eyeball. Now we're ready to sweep this. Let's go to this swept boss. Click on it. Select what looks like a tombstone, and then select any curve on this spoke. And you can right click or hit the green check mark up here. And now we could actually hide that sketch. If you right click, go to the eyeball to hide it. Okay, let's put some fillets on there. Go to the fillet tool, set it to 0.25, and select this edge here. Actually deselect it. Click on it again. We actually want 0.188 fillets, and that's going to be on this underside edge here and this edge here. Could we have added them into the sketch as sketch fillets? Absolutely. That would have been actually more efficient. This is okay though. Just hit the green check mark. Go to the fillet tool, and now set it to 0.25. And now we could go ahead and select that edge and fillet it around. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pattern that. So go to underneath the linear pattern tool, there's a little arrow, go to circular pattern. First of all, click up here for the pattern axis. We'll start at the top and work our way down. Click on this cylinder or any of the cylinders except this one. The radial cylinders where there's fillets and things, it doesn't usually like that. Now over here we just need 3 spokes total. That includes the one that's there. So and now go ahead and click on the features here, and let's select the spoke. Now it looks like you got a good preview going here, but be aware it's missing a couple things. It's missing the fillets, so make sure that you select the fillets as well. You can do this also up here. Sometimes the fillets might be small or features are very small and difficult to select. Hit the little arrow there and it will drop down, and you could select the fillets from the feature tree or any other features you might want to carry along. Hit the green check mark to apply. Now let's go to the front plane again to finish this up. Select sketch, hit your space bar, and you could go normal 2. And now let's go to the circle tool. And if you left your other plane up, the plane 1 that we created earlier, you won't be able to capture this midpoint, and you have to use the dimensions that are in the book. But if you capture this midpoint, you do not need to use the dimensions in the book. Click and drag this out, draw a circle, and dimension it at 1 inch for the hand wheel. It should turn fully defined because it's centered on that edge. Now, what you're going to need is a center line. You can reuse the center lines from the other sketches by showing them, or you could turn on axes, but it's just easy just to draw a new center line. Go to Features, Revolve Boss Base, and there we have it. Now go back to the Fillet tool. Should still be set to 0.25. Select this face. Other CAD systems make you select all these edges. You just have to select the face and everything gets filleted. Hit the green check mark. Okay, rotate this around. We're going to take a look. This isn't the best application to show this in, but the Hole Wizard, which I haven't showed anyone this until this exercise here, exercise 4. It's a wonderful tool. If you click on Hole Wizard, you get to pick the type. There's counterbores, countersinks, standard tapered hold for national pipe threads. You can even make custom holes. You see them all there. Let's go with the counterbore, and under ANSI inch here, we'll stick with that, but notice there's all the different formats. And then binding head screw, there's all types of different hex screws, hex finish bolts. Be aware, whatever you select here, what's nice later on in assemblies, you could propagate those particular binding head screws and things will automatically be identified using Toolbox, if you have Toolbox, which is has all these standard nuts, bolts, washers, things like that. Okay, the whole specification. Let's go with a number. We'll actually go with a 1/4 inch. And you'll notice the fit, you could specify close, normal, or loose. Also, if you wanted to go through all, in this case we want to go blind, and then specify 1 inch in depth. Okay, and then these are some additional settings if you want to change those. Now you click on the Positions tab, and you could go ahead and select this face. And you'll notice you could actually capture the center. You could click, drop one in. You could also add additional ones just by clicking wherever you want additional holes. I'm going to hit I'm going to right click to go to select. And then you could click on those and delete them, or you can move them. Those points can be deleted. They could be positioned too using dimensions. You could go to the Smart Dimension tool and locate them. We just want the one that's right here. So go ahead and hit the green check, and now you have your Hole Wizard mastered. Okay, just make sure you save that as capital E4 for exercise 4. That concludes the actual exercise. Now there's some labs that go along with it. Feel free to pause the video and maybe watch the labs after you give them a try on your own. Otherwise, you could go ahead and watch the videos if you wish. Okay, in the manual, we have Lab 4. Lab 4 is a very difficult part. It's a great challenge. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to step through how to create this. Let's take a look at some of the basic dimensions. Always look at the outside. Ignore the inside at first. Look at what the big picture is. We have a 1/2 inch thick part. It's thin walled. You can see that it's shelled out. Typical wall 60,000s. It has a radius of 0.75 at the bottom, a radius of 1.5 at the top, and a couple angles here. There's one that darts out 23 degrees from end to end, and one that's 115 degrees from end to end. So let's give that a try here. Very similar in nature to exercise 3 and also lab 3. Hit OK. It's a little bit more detailed though, so I'm gonna select the top plane to sketch this. Take your centerline tool. Anytime you see a symmetric part like that, draw a nice center line, because you're going to be able to use that for mirroring. Then go to the line tool, and down below here, click an angled line out about 1.5 inches, and then a short little line, maybe about 1 inch. Hit escape. Now click and drag a fence to surround the two. Go to the mirror entities, and it should mirror it over to the other side immediately. The bottom arc is a tangent arc. You could tell because it's smooth in the dimensions that are given. The top arc is not tangent, so you're going to want to use 3-point or center point arc. I'll use 3-point because I could just click and go across, click, and drag it out. Hit escape a couple times. Let's add the dimensions. So the smart dimension at the bottom was 0.75. The angle between these two lines was 24 degrees, and the angle between these two is 115. And then this arc is 1.5. Now we need to position it. So the dimension between the two arcs is 1.25. And now it's starting to look closer to what it should. Hit escape, and let's drag this to the origin. In this case, actually, there's one more dimension we're missing. It's not dragging. It's this 1-inch dimension from the corner to the center of the base arc. So click on the bottom arc and this little corner, and that needs to be 1 inch. Now we could drag this, snap it to that center. Go ahead and extrude this, and it gets extruded 0.5, but there is draft, so don't forget the draft. And according to this print, our typical draft here is 25 degrees. So click on draft, 25, hit enter, and the green check. Okay, you have the base completed. Now put the fillets and chamfers on. Then you could shell it. So in this case, we have a chamfer of 30 degrees by 0.181, and then a radius of a half inch. So let's put the radius on. Radiuses are always easy. So 0.5, select this edge, and hit apply. Now go to the chamfer, and it's 0.181, and then it's 30 degrees. And select this edge and hit the green check. There. Now we could shell this. Flip it around the back, and the shell is 0.06 typical. So select this back face and hit the green check. Rotate it around now, and let's get the details on here. Select this face, start a sketch, and go normal 2. And we'll draw in one of those, looks like a petal for a flower. Take the centerline tool again, and at the origin, we could use this. Oops, I didn't lock in before I selected that. Make sure you get the orange dot before you do that. Draw that in. I accidentally drew an object line, so I'm going to click on it and select construction geometry. Now I could go back to the line tool, draw a little angled line just like that, and then if we click and drag from right to left, it'll select both entities even though the center line was not completely in the envelope, and hit mirror entities. Now go to tangent arc and cap off the bottom and the top. And now let's take a look at those dimensions there. Hit escape a couple times. For that, the bottom radius looks like it's 0.1 and the top is 0.2 and the distance between is 0.5. So bottom 0.1, the top 0.2, and from centers 0.5. Now we have to locate this. Go ahead and select the bottom arc and select this top arc and it will dimension to the center. Click to drop that. And this I think is 0.7. If we take a look at the print just to verify that. And it's a bolt radius there, 0.7. That's correct. Okay, let's go to Features and Extrude Cut through all. All right, now that we have that, we want to pattern it. So go to Circular Pattern. The feature to pattern, go ahead and select like this face here. And then click over here and select this outer edge. And we could see it's appearing like that. Now what we're going to do, because we don't want to go all the way around here, we're going to do 1/2, and they're 24 degrees apart. So if we specify 24, turn off equal spacing with 3 instances, there we go, we have 1/2. So that's a circular pattern just for a little segment. Now let's use the mirror tool. Click on mirror. The mirror plane, if you hit this little arrow, technically if you drew this correctly, your right plane should be dead center. You'll see that it picked up on the feature to mirror because those were the last selected entities. If they don't show up in a preview, make sure you select the Cut Extrude one to make sure it's, or I should say Circular Pattern one. So it's in there, and hit the green check. Let's select this face now and start a sketch. Go Normal 2. Locate the center by moving to the edge, and there's a center point. Click, drag out a circle. This needs to be set at 0.835. Let's go to Smart Dimension. And that gets extruded 0.03 in height. So let me just verify that. And here, yeah, 0.03, and there's a 0.03 radius on it. So hit Apply and go to Fillet. Actually, I'm not going to fill it just yet. We need to put a little cutout in there. So I'm going to select this face and start a sketch and go Normal 2 again and zoom up to it. Select the center rectangle and get it right on the quadrant right here. See the little orange dot? Click and drag out a rectangle. Smart Dimension it at 0.1 and then dimension this at 0.1, I believe, and that might be a little bit, I think it's 0.05. Let's take a look at the print. And here we could actually see it's 0.05 on this back view. Now that gets cut through, and then there's some radiuses of 0.1 radius that goes in there, and then it gets patterned. So we need to make sure those locked in. Control select this and the origin. Make sure they're vertical to one another so it turns fully defined. Now I go to Features, Extruded Cut. Select Through All. And now while that's still selected, actually not yet, we're going to first put our fillet in. Let's go to the fillet here, and we'll set 0.03, select this edge, and then go to Multiple Radius Fillet, select this edge, and set this one to 0.1, and hit the green check. Now we should be able to just pattern that. So let's go to the Circular Pattern tool, and we're going to select equal spacing, and I think it's 15, but I'll have to double check that. I'm going to click on this, and we could just select this outer face again, and the features to mirror, select this face, select that fillet, and we see our little preview. And we could double check by counting those. I don't know if I have them called out on the print. And we get a rebuild error, most likely due to the fillet. I combined the two fillets, which I've never done before in this particular instance. So let's try Geometry Pattern. Perhaps that will fix it. Geometry Pattern didn't even fix it. So let's cancel out and edit that fillet. Edit Feature. And let's see, turn off Multiple Radius Fillet. And deselect that inner edge here. We'll keep these two separate. So if I click on that inner edge, it's gone. Now we could put in a separate fillet, select the edge, go to fillet, and this one will be 0.1. Thus we remove the two from being into one. We actually make two separate ones. All right, now we could go back to circular pattern, and you can see the fillet selected. We'll also click in this little face here, and then we'll select this, and we can select this edge. Make sure equal spacing is on, and bump it up to, I think, 15. Actually, looks good. Hit the green check. And there, separating the two allowed it to work. Now, I have a picture of a little logo in the center there. I don't have the dimensions on the print for you, but I will give them to you right now. Make this 0.4. And then add a circle, just offset. And this is only if you want to do this. It's like a moon over the sun. And dimension that at 0.125. And then you could locate it from center to center. Cancel, that's not the dimension I wanted to get. Let's go normal 2. And we just want vertical and horizontal. So select from here to here. Drag that out. We'll make that 0.875. Oops, I'm sorry, 0.0875. And then dimension from here to here. Drag it straight up. And that's going to be 0.06. Now we could just go to features, extrude cut, and it's just a very shallow cut, 0.01. All right, rotate it around. Let's get the inside. Select this face, start a sketch, go normal 2, and draw 2 concentric circles in the center. And dimension them. One is 0.6 and one is 0.5. Go ahead and extrude those. And if we look at the print, the extrusion height is 0.13. Hit the green check. There is a little cutout on there, so select this face and start a sketch. Go normal 2. Use the center rectangle. Drag out a little straight there and dimension it. Oops, didn't want that. Stay away from that midpoint. 0.05. And then it's just centered. You could add relations or dimensions. I'm just going to cut it. Extrude cut. And the depth for that particular one on the cut, you can see on the section view, which is 0.1. Later that's used as a little keyway. Okay, now select this face and start a sketch, and let's draw the posts. There's 3, so you could draw one here and one here, and then we'll mirror the other one so we don't have as much work to do. Let's just go ahead and draw a center line. Now I could select those 2, go to mirror entities, and now let's add our actually hit escape. Group select these, hold control, select all 3 circles, make them all equal, and now you could add a smart dimension. And the diameter for the base is going to be 0.175, and then they get extruded a height of 0.375. So 0.175. Oh, I forgot to add some more dimensions there. 0.175, and then they're spaced from each other. 1.5. And then dimension 1 to this arc, and get right in here. There's a short little distance. Make sure you get this vertical dimension. and that's 0.1. Okay, now you could go to Features, Extrude Boss Base, and add Draft. The draft on this is called out. Actually, I might not have called out the draft, so let's just put 1 degree. And the height, I meant to take a look at that again. I forgot what that one was. That's 0.375. Hit the green check. Now select this face here, start a sketch, and every edge, locate the center, and draw these little circles in here. Hit escape, drag a fence to surround them all, make them all equal, and then their point, hit escape on that one, they're 0.1, and then they get cut. So extrude cut 0.1 deep. Okay, now what's not on the print, that's pretty much it for the print. But what's not on the print are ribs, and so if you wanted to see this, feel free to watch it. You don't have to do these, but let's say you wanted to put in reinforcement ribs on here. So we could, let's see, we'll put some in at the base here, and we'll have them at the base of this. We'll have them start here, start a sketch. You don't want them on the floor, because if you recall, you can't actually, oops, let's go to bottom. And I want that to rotate up, so Alt and the arrow keys. There we go. So we could actually just draw little segments. I'm just clicking and then double click to end the chain. And notice they're just kind of in there. You just don't want them touching the edge. Now we could put a couple up here too. I'm going to put one over on this side, and then one here. Make that perpendicular to this. And I'm not really locking into that, but that's okay. Another trick you could do here is go with the center line and make those two collinear. That way we know it's centered. This one too, let's go with the center line. Just from the center, drag that out. Make sure these are collinear. I'm just holding Control and selecting them. Now we want to copy those over to the other side, so the center line is our best option here. Select the two line segments, holding Control, the center line, and then go to Mirror Entities. And they should mirror over to the other side. Okay, now that we have those small line segments, notice they're not touching the walls. Be careful that you don't want them intersecting the walls. And now we could go to Features, Rib. And the rib thickness, since it's a 60 thousandths wall, we'll go with like 40 thousandths. And we'll add draft while it's extruding of 1 degree. And hit the green check. And now we have reinforcement ribs. Okay, just make sure you save that as L for Lab 4. And that concludes exercise 4.